Hi, everyone. This is Erina McWilliam-Lopez from 1623 Studios, and I'm joined here today by Cornelia Williams, otherwise known as Nina. Nina, thank you so much for joining us today. Nina is a local resident of Manchester. She's a college student at Georgetown, and a graduate of Manchester school system. And Nina has been really engaged in racial justice in terms of the conversation around what's happening with students right now as it relates to some of the local aspects of how racial justice or injustice exists in our community and our education system. And so, Nina, tell us about what you're up to. You've started this group called SCAR. So tell us about what that stands for and why this is so important to you.
Yeah, so me and Abby Fitzgibbon, she's another girl my grade or my year from Manchester. We started it around this June, and we've been going ever since. Basically, the goal is to create positive change within the local school district, but hopefully expanding to other districts too, to address concerns about interpersonal and systemic racism, also to give a space for students of color and to create a more inclusive community. Of course, SCAR stands for the Student Coalition Against Racism. So specifically, we're focused on like the youth advocacy and the student advocacy efforts to address these issues. And the goal is to kind of advocate to work with the school, not to work against the school, and to kind of address certain issues. Specifically, what we've looked at and the main considerations we're trying to tackle are curriculum, the school culture, discipline, the school resource officer, and diversity of the faculty and administration. And so those are just some of the topics that we're hoping to kind of address and improve upon to just make the best changes within the school.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And you're covering a lot of ground. And I think what stands out is how specific how specific SCAR is in terms of pointing out areas that are opportunities to change. So that's really promising. And how many students are involved right now?
Yeah, so we have, I think it's around 20 to 25. And of course, we'd love for that number to expand. During the summer, one of the main goals was to kind of create this letter of suggestions and recommendations. And for that, we almost didn't want to have too many students actively working on it just because it is hard to be writing all in one document. But we've had a lot of input just from the community. We had, I think, around 250 responses through a survey about what people would like to see changed, so that we could like include those voices in our writing and making sure that we're aligning with the interests of the community at large. But we do have kind of the current student side and the graduated student side, and each party kind of offers different insights about what's currently happening and how we, as graduate students, have learned what new changes we believe could be added to the school. So
that's amazing, because it sounds like you said graduated students, so it sounds like there's a little bit of a, would you say there's a little bit of a mentorship component going on where graduates are sort of letting current high school students know perhaps what they've learned since they've graduated and been a little bit more out in the world?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I wouldn't say there's any like direct mentorships, but definitely we've been able to show them kind of what we've learned and experienced past high school, and how we can kind of bring like effective ways to advocate for change within the school, and kind of like the ways to do that, how to develop just a club in general and talk about these issues and get impact, or like a real impact. So we're hoping that once the graduate students are, a lot of them dispersed throughout the country and everything, but hoping that those students can hold on to what we've been able to teach them and continue to implement like SCAR as an effective in-school club.
And it goes without saying, of course, that this has all been done in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic and social distancing, the social distancing mandates. How has that affected the launch and development of SCAR?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's different than it would have been in person. We did start in the middle of the pandemic during June. So it was really born online, and it started with basically an Instagram group of people DMing each other talking about these issues. And past that, we went to Zoom and we started holding weekly meetings through Zoom, and we would just talk for an hour or 2 hours about these issues and kind of what the next steps are. So I think we all had some experience at that point and kind of how to use the new medium online. And we've been able to keep it really effective in organizing through using just different online resources and staying organized about what we're doing. So it has been something that's new for us, but it's been really effective. And it's almost allowed more people to participate because it's not based around where you are, it's based around your interests and just your time.
Absolutely. And what would you want the community, this direct community, hopefully, folks that are going to be watching this video have heard about, historically there have been countless just violence against people of color and continued oppression. We've heard in the news so many things that have happened even just during the small amount of time in the pandemic. Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery. In terms of bringing that sort of like national to local continuum, do you have any calls of action or anything that you'd want the community to know?
Yeah, so I think looking at the national scale, it really is overwhelming, and you can feel a little like hopeless about what can I do as an individual, but just to remember that your voice is powerful, and specifically at the local level, you have the power to really enact different changes. And so just remembering that these conversations may be uncomfortable and for students and may be intimidating to, raise your concerns to people who are in a position of authority, but it is really just having the confidence to use your voice and say what you think and how things should be, that you're going to get that local change. And that just expands outwards to create more positive change at hopefully the national scale.
Thank you so much, Nina. That is absolutely inspiring. And I think you raised a really, really important point for right now, is that uncomfortable conversations are incredibly important and they can be transformative. And it sounds like you're really encouraging that at the youth level. And it's just so wonderful to hear. So thank you for sharing your story. I guess a final question is, are other students from other schools, are they open to being involved, or are you open to any collaborations from other students in the area?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had those conversations yet. We've been focused on kind of still working on the local level, but we definitely would love to expand it. And I mean, Georgetown, where I go to school, has written an article about SCAR. So I know there's a lot of support behind the idea and creating that advocacy among students. So we, of course, would love to expand. It just hasn't been in the cards yet.
Thank you. Great to hear. Well, thanks so much for connecting with us today.
Of course. Thank you so much.